button done up.
I'm very relaxed, as you can tell. I've been stretching.
That was a shit clap, mate.
That was pretty shit.
Says you.
So,
Clap, yeah, mate.
coming. So, we've got Kane Shepherd and Brandon from Epic Coaching.
Epic coaching.
Epic
Yep.
Coaching. Fucking, where did the love affair start?
Oh, between us?
Yeah.
We actually hate each other.
Yeah, I was actually surprised you asked us both. I'm like,
These guys
we
are
actually
fucking-
hate each other. I didn't. This guy just showed up one day, wouldn't bloody fucking leave.
Been training with Brando, 3 years now? 3.5 years?
Yeah, so we actually met through one of Kane's mates coming in for some powerlifting training, and his mate didn't come back, and Kane stuck around and got really strong.
Much to Brando's dismay.
Because what's the base level start? It's a set of lifts that gauge your overall. It's like a set of kilos, isn't it? Like,
So at a powerlifting comp, you got 3 lifts. So your main lifts are your squat, bench, and deadlift. You get 3 attempts at each. So you need to obviously pass. You got 3 judges. Get 3 white lights for each lift for it to count. You can't go down in weight. You can only go up. So if you fuck one, you either pull a miracle out and fucking get it next time, or you fucking game over. So people do bomb out because they, come in without a coach or knowledge of what they're doing, and the bro code kicks in, and they fucking just pick some stupid fucking weight and struggle. Squatting half squats and that. That's a bit different in comp.
But yeah, so like out of those 3 events, your highest attempt gets put together to create a total, and then it's based on whoever has the biggest total at the end of the day in that weight class takes first place.
so where do you come in when you're like a dude going to the gym and I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm strong and I can bench? Like, what's that benchmark when you can actually call yourself a powerlifter or a strongman? Is there a magical number where you're like, bro, you're not in the club, mate, get out?
No, man, like it's a pretty like a welcoming sport. Like I train a lot of novices starting out. I've trained females who could barely bench the bar when they first walk in, and I've trained males who couldn't even bench 60 kilos. So there's no real base level, but there is a starting point. And whenever you start, there's always only one way to go, and that's forward and up. So anyone can do it. It's just a matter of, okay, you know what? I actually need to learn how to do this properly, which is usually a result of either injury or actually that's pretty much just injury, and I want to get better.
It's probably one of the biggest things I hear too is like, because I advocate for people to come across and do the sport because it's cool, yeah. And
only we think it's cool, bro.
Yeah.
Only the weights you lift are cool, mate. If I went, you're squatting 60 kilos, Max, and it was a half.
I don't know, man. I seem to remember you held the 1 RAR bench record there for a bit, didn't you?
Still up there, 10 years
Is
later.
it? What is it?
150.
There you go. You're already there.
There you go. That'll do.
That's
That'll
not
do.
bad.
PB's one.
There you go, little fella.
Yeah, and there's no real prerequisite as long as you're willing to have a go and willing to commit to the process. Like, you can't not get stronger. It's if you get the right coach, then you're going to go in leaps and bounds from any sort of starting point, really. Even a day one walking in off the street, within 12 weeks, you could be comp ready to lift some decent weights. And the other thing too is it's all relative, yeah. Like I was just saying off air, I'm 160 kilos. So when you put that up against, someone who's 100 kilos and they're lifting not much less than me, then, comparatively they're stronger anyway. So, it's all
Part
relative.
of the rule? Is that part of who wins? Like, is it based on how much you lift relative to how heavy you are, or?
Yeah, so there's different weight classes, and there's a few different federations within Australia, but majority, they all sit around like a male typical weight class will start at 67 kilos and then jump to 75, 82, 90s, 100s, 110s, and then 125s, 140s, and then super heavyweights. So
yeah. So what I mean is, like, say, me and Max are both super heavyweights, and he's a little bit fatter than me, so he's like an extra 2 kilos. We both lift the same weight. Do I win?
You
win.
You
win on body weight.
Yeah.
What are you weighing, Max?
Depends on what. So and there's 2 arguments.
Metric, mate. Metric.
What am I at the moment? 101. Depends on if I'm naked or not. I've had a shave.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Comp rules, you pretty much have to weigh in just your jocks or naked.
Has anyone done naked? Like, I'll take the naked option.
I weigh in naked all the time just to fuck with the guy weighing me in. Imagine Kane
Easy way
up and get
Easy way to pick up dates, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, and this is my go-to. Once I give up on trying to find a 6-pack, I've ordered it. It's not coming. I think COVID's really delayed it, but I'll probably moving forward. I'm just going to say I'm a powerlifter and just tell them that this is just my powerlifting body. Is that accurate? Do they say weight moves weight, or are they saying it's all bullshit? That's all.
Of course, he will say that. Look, there's an argument that can be made for mass moves mass. At the end of the day, like, someone with, we'll take Kane. Kane and I are perfect examples of completely different body shapes. Obviously, he's round and I'm tall and slender. But being a bit rounder, having a bit more leverage, functional mass, we'll call it, around his hips and his belly actually supports him a lot in certain aspects, like when he's squatting and in the whole of the squat. He can really use that to his advantage, whereas I suck at squatting because I don't have a gut like that. Everything that I do is 10 times harder because I'm not built for this sport. I just so happen to fucking love it. And it's always shit when you fall in love with a sport that you suck at. But using it, like, through biomechanical advantages, like, I'm a way better deadlifter than Kane ever will be just because of the way I'm built. So
I still lift more than.
So if frame and body shape is important, how is, like, the guys that are leading the world are these 7-foot dudes? Like, in my mind, that doesn't make sense that a 7-foot dude is good at squatting.
It comes back to, like, if we look at, so the biggest and best powerlifter in the world right now is a bloke named Dan Bell from America. His total is 1,142.5 kilos. So he's in. Across 3 lifts, he's totaled 1,142 kilos. It's fucking huge and absolutely stupid. He squatted, from memory, 455 kilos, benched about 260, 270, and then pulled 410. So just absolutely stupid numbers. He's probably about 6'3", 6'4", but he's weighing in at close to 200 kegs. Like, that is a big motherfucking dude. We look at half Thor. So Thor, from the guy from Games of Thrones, probably the most famous strong strength sports athlete in the world. That guy's like 7'5", and he's weighing in at $2.10. What the actual fuck? Like, he just looks like a guy that's been locked in a cage for 26 years and then just sprung out on the world. But
I can't believe it.
Genetically gifted.
But even in Australia, like, there's a bloke over in Perth, Dylan Hyregal. He just become the first man in history to squat 1,000 and
squat 1,000 pounds.
1,000 pounds. So what's that for?
455 kilos and deadlift 900 pounds, which is 410 in the same
comp. Who again was like 9 foot tall and 160 kilos.
Did you just say he squatted more than he dead?
Yeah. So he squatted 455 kilos and deadlifted 410. And that's what you usually find at that top level athlete. Obviously, squat being the first lift, you're always going to have a bit more in the tank for it. But a lot of your top athletes will always squat more than they deadlift.
So what's the difference between, so you guys are powerlifters, and then those boys are all the strongmen, like lifting fucking Atlas balls. And is that something you ever thought about or do you cross over?
There is a lot of crossover. I've dabbled in a bit of a strongman before. It's it's fucking hard. Like I look at powerlifting, and what we do is, it takes a certain person to put a stupid amount of weight on their back and fucking come down and squat back up with it. And then you look at strongman, they take it to the next level. They're putting stupid amounts of weight on their back and then moving with that. It's just, I've never been more fucking sore and couldn't train for like a week after from one strongman comp. It's just insane.
I do have a desire to give it a go one day, but sort of where I'm at with powerlifting at the moment and the plans that Brando and I've got in place, it'll take too much away from powerlifting for me at the moment, and it'll postpone. And like Suts was saying, he's 34, I'm 35, like not getting any younger. So, if I don't achieve it in sort of the next 5 years, 5 to 7 years, it's probably not going to happen. So
yeah, I was going to say the max age limit, like for powerlifters, is a bit older, isn't it? Like you can still get stronger into your 30s.
Yeah, like I'm very lucky enough to have rubbed shoulders with some of the best in the world, and they're all over the age of 40. One lifter I coach, his name's Luke Poley. He was the first man in Australia at age 40 to squat 400. Like, he's just like a fine wine, just got better with age.
I think as you get older too and you get more mature, the bro mentality goes away as well. And you start to feel the aches and pains a bit more. So you become very much more smarter with your recovery and your training and that as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think the little things take more priority. Like, you look at your nutrition, you look at your prehab, your mobility, and all sorts of things just to get that little bit extra out of your body. And especially over, the age of 35, when it is, things are starting to work against you in terms of physical athletic ability.
Even technique. Like I don't want to speak for powerlifting because I really know nothing about the sport, but I know the older I get, I used to walk in the gym when I was 18 and just be like, weight, just throw heaps of weight on. I want to get ginormous. I used to look up to like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ronnie Coleman and be like, I just want to be jacked like them, because as an 18-year-old kid, that's what you want. And my technique was probably dog shit, and you end up getting like disproportionate muscle growth. And like even now, the only thing that's got me to get like focused just on lightweight, really good technique is the fact that my body is fucking falling apart. Go to the physio. And she's like, no more weights, mate. You got 3 months of just doing single leg deadlifts with air. I'm like, that's super sexy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we see a lot of people come into the sport, and you mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ronnie Coleman, like two of my biggest motivations when I was fucking a little bit younger, going to the gym, training arms every day, thinking I was going to be Coleman. Then I didn't. Then I realized I wasn't Ronnie Coleman, and I'm white, not black.
And you're small.
And I'm small as shit. But like those two guys, they had a background in powerlifting before they actually went onto the bodybuilding stage. Like Ronnie Coleman squatted fucking 365 kilos for a double. Like, that's fucked. And his only regret to this day is that he just didn't do it for 5. Like, it's ridiculous. And they set the foundation for, I think all strength sports owe Arnold Schwarzenegger a massive thank you, because without him, like, there would be this ideal alpha male to look up to and aspire to. And like, we look at barbell sports like weightlifting, powerlifting, even CrossFit to a degree. It's because of Arnold Schwarzenegger that we all saw pumping iron and him moving barbells like a fucking god, that we all like, yeah, let's go do that.
100%, mate. Like in the 90s, like around Schwarzenegger's era, when he started 80s, 90s, started making moves. Before that, bulk was not sexy. It was like aerobics and fucking and stretchy bodies were cool. And that's slowly coming back in. But even CrossFit now, like CrossFit, you watch it. Like I sit down and watch CrossFit reruns, and it's entertaining. And part of it's because they're super fit. But the other part is because they've got rigs on them. Like they're big dudes, muscly people. And it's like it's inspiring to watch. And without Arnie, we would have been watching people do yoga competitions.
That would have been like watching a game of fucking chess.
Is there much injuries doing it? Because I saw a video. Jess, one of our brought up a video of a dude breaking both of his knees doing a
bro. So that's been sent to me about like a gazillion times, and I excuse, like, that triggers me because I watched that video and I'm like, this guy had no right to attempt that weight. Like, I don't know. I'm speaking from my own opinion. I don't know his training background. I don't know what he's done in training, all this shit. But, man, you watch that guy unrack that weight and you're like, you don't have that, man. Like, put it back in the rack. You're going to hurt yourself.
I refuse to watch it.
Oh, it's just like, why are you doing this? You know, it's the risk of injury is there. Like, we're doing something so insanely stupid in a sense. Like, we're putting external heavy fucking loads and putting our body through a stupid amount of stress for, you know, for a first place medal, really. But
comes back to what Suts was saying though with form. So, you know, when I first came to Brando 3 years ago, I thought I was killing it. Like,
bruh,
there's a video on my Instagram from like 3 years ago. I think it was 250.
It was 252.
And it was horrible. Like a quarter squat, screaming to try and get it back up. Like, and like the bros at the gym I was at high-fived me. Oh, man, you're so strong. That was sick, bro. Then I come to this guy and he's like, you're a fuckwit. Like, you know, hurt yourself, you dickhead.
I remember seeing this video. Like, he sent me his video. He's like, yeah, I squat 252. And I've watched it. And I just laughed. I was like, you don't squat 252. Like, you don't.
And then, you know, 8 weeks later, I had my first comp with him and squatted 237 and a half. And with proper technique, like the amount of change and physical differences between that 252 and the 237 is chalk and cheese, like, fuck.
I'll send you the video just because I like to troll Kane.
It is embarrassing.
But, like, risk of injury is imperative. Like, as I said before, we're putting stupid loads on our back. It's something that we try to mitigate. Like, we can't really reduce the risk of injury completely when you're playing around with external loads. But powerlifting's not really a hard sport to understand. Like, it's 3 basic movements. And as long as you understand movement patterns and biomechanical leverages, there's a certain pattern that we know. Like, if we look at just from the sport overall, we're going to have an overdeveloped anterior chain. So you're thinking like your pecs, your quads, and a very underdeveloped posterior chain. So upper back, hamstrings, glutes, and things like that. We know that if we keep doing that and we keep accentuating those discrepancies, there's going to be injury. So there's ways to, I guess, release it or work around it so we don't get injuries and hopefully prevent it or at least prolong it. And then you get freak accidents. Like, I've seen people snap their humeruses. I've seen people tear biceps off the bones. I've seen people tear quads off the bones. And
the chick in the gym here, 8 weeks ago, snapped her arm benching.
Yeah, like snapped her humerus or her upper arm benching. And that's, if we watched her technique, like, you can see there's a lot of torque and tension being placed through the bone. Now, I don't know exactly the amount of tension required to break a bone, but it's a fucking lot. So if you're not in the correct position when you're training, and you've got this person who's coming down on their bench and they start to putting torque and tension through a fucking bone instead of loading the muscle, it's gonna snap. Like, there's some things you can avoid, like that's avoidable. Learn how to bench properly, and then there's some things that they're just freak accidents.
Oh, that was my jam, mate. For probably the last 15 years, I think I was doing all bench press with bones and tendons, and I just had no chest. I had super strong bones and tendons. No chest muscles.
Bro, the first 5 years of like when I was training in high school, all I did was arms and fucking did a leg press. Like, that's all I did.
Yeah.
Hasn't helped me in any sense now.
I don't know, but the thing that I'm interested in about, and I was thinking about this last night. I was getting inspired. I'm like, this is going to be a sick podcast, and I was like, why do fucking people go to these places and do these things? And I was like, it's the modern world has changed, and I was like, the church, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in the church, but I was like, they had some pretty good things in place, right? They had routine, they had a sense of community. You rocked up. You all had a goal and a purpose moving through life, and they would, through doctrine and dogma, inculcate you and keep you there, going doing things. And I'm like, is part of that the reason why you got into it? Is it that sense of community, and the gym is your church, or?
I think there's been a lot of comparisons made. Like, making that comparison, between the gym and the church. And like, as you said before, there's a great community around this sport. I've been in competitions where it's been me and another bloke head to head in a battle. Yet when I pull my final deadlift, he's still right behind me cheering me on. Like, you don't really see that in other sports, especially individual sports. And don't get us wrong, like there is competitiveness and all that sort of stuff. But I think when you get a good bunch of people around you, you put them all in the same room and all have the same goal, working towards the same thing, you're going to get an amazing result. And that's what drives people to come back to this sport. It's just like
probably the closest thing to battalion life that I've found outside battalion, in the sense that in battalion, you're there with fucking 600 of your best mates, and everything you do is for the bloke next to you. And that's very much how powerlifting is. Like, if you're going for a heavy session coming into a comp, there's literally people that'll come in that aren't even training, they've cancelled schedules and shit to come and help you and cheer you on and spot you and make sure that you fucking doing everything right, you know what I mean? And like, I've been out, 8 years now, and I've never seen that anywhere else. Even like playing footy and that, you get it to an extent, but nothing like what we get in the gym here and sort of around Australia when you go to other comps and that as well. It's very much a camaraderie that you don't find many other places, where people are genuinely just wanting you to succeed for no other reason than to see you succeed. You know what I mean? So
I think it also comes back down to, like, as Kane said before, it's all relative. It doesn't matter if my max squat's 250 kilos and his is 385. Like, there's a certain respect you get because you've pushed the limit of what you're capable of and you're there to get better. Like, we have a saying that we say a lot out here, like, you don't know what a 10 out of 10 is until you go into 11. And now we go to 11 a fucking lot. And when you do, there are so many other people around you geeing you up that it just is the most overwhelming feeling of, fuck yeah, I need to give back to these people because I know they do the same for me.
That's the other thing too. Like, when I squat 375 and that in that comp, like, my life is literally in the spotter's hands, because if something fucking rips, tears, breaks, snaps, fucking goes wrong, like, 375 is going to bury you in the floor without the help of the guys on the side that are going to help lift the weight off you and fucking probably carry your coffin.
I don't think anyone can carry yours.
You're at 375 squat.
Yeah, that's my best comp squat.
Yeah, so Kane's best numbers at the moment are 375 kilo squat, a 195 kilo bench, and a 310 kilo deadlift.
And
I'm a baby.
That's just bloody silly, mate.
And all credit to him. Like, as Kane just said, he's a baby in this sport. Like, he's only been training for three years properly, I would say. Like, I have another bloke that's been training with myself for nearly 10 years. And, his biggest numbers are a 410, 250, and 345. Like, there's no doubt. When I first met Kane, I was like, you'll squat 400 plus one day. And I have no doubt he will. Like, he's got an incredible talent. As much as I hate him, he's got an incredible talent for this sport.
I don't even think it's talent either. I think, like, and this, like, coming from the military, you've got a predisposition to succeed in powerlifting, because a lot of the traits that you find in a battalion or in the army are the traits that are going to get you success in a sport like powerlifting. So, like you were talking before about routine, commitment, dedication, drive, not scared to fail type thing. They're all key attributes that successful soldiers have. And, when you come out, a lot of people apply them to business and shit like that. But, if you come into powerlifting and apply them same principles, there's no reason that you can't do what I'm doing at the moment either. So
what are the growths? What are the growth of, so doing those big lifts? Because we used to train, like people are talking about central nervous, you're bombing your central nervous system and the recovery time to go to the next level, or then to get a physiological change, like your body actually adapting to that particular set of weights and then moving. What are the time frames on like a recovery from essential, like max effort, stuff like that?
So it's a bit different. Like for squatting and deadlifting, it's always going to be a bit longer because of the demand on the body. Benching, you could like 3 to 5 days and you should be right to bench again heavy. Squatting and deadlifting, you're looking more around 7 to 10 days to get a full recovery of the central nervous system. And now that's talking if you are pushing that top envelope and you're going 85% and above of your 1 rep max in training. Like that's the kind of time frame your central nervous system will take to recover. Physiologically will be different. And that's dependent on everyone. Things come back down to mostly sleep and nutrition.
Yeah, who was the drink water? I'm drinking a lot of the things. Water's not one of them at the moment. But because no, it's drinking kombucha. Powerade. Because you see the boys at one like and across the battalion when they used to train for selection, the old school dudes would be like going and doing 3.2K webbing runs every 3 days. And they're like, I'm not getting better. I did it as well, just trying to hammer myself into the ground. And I'm like, I'm not getting better. And they're like, and then it finally, like, signs started coming in, and they're like, dude, you can hammer yourself in the ground as much as you like. You're not recovering. Like, zero recovery.
100%. I think a lot of people in this sport and in any sort of physical training, they just forget one thing, and that's stress is stress. Like the body doesn't know the difference between relationship stress, physical stress, emotional stress, whatever it is. It has the same physiological response in the body. So everything you're doing is compounding every single day. So when you go in the gym or you try and do a 3.2K run, you're not going to get any better because you're just fried as fuck.
Yeah, I don't know how I want to see where they sort of move forward with it all and how they're going to progress it. But they were saying, because we're sort of starting to get into the whole with stress and how so they say if you want to get rid of anxiety, go for runs. And they're saying that you can treat, like, for depression, going and doing resistance training is one of the biggest ones. So different areas to treat different, like, psychological conditions. They're saying anxiety is generally towards the cardio end and not overly doing hits, because then you, like you just said, you're just adding more stress to your body.
Yeah.
And then with powerlifting and resistance training, they're seeing these massive increases in people's mood just from going and pushing tin around.
Yeah, 100%. So anxiety is a big one. Like I've suffered from anxiety. How old am I? 27. So nearly 10 years now. And it's once you understand anxiety, is just like if we think basically, for everyone listening, that anxiety is just a big ball of energy and you're just bunched up, because when we've all felt anxiety before, we get really tense up and we have all this like energy that just needs to be exerted. Yeah, going for a run, letting that out in a safe manner is probably the best thing for it. And as you said, moving a bit of tin for depression is just as good, purely because it's taking yourself out of your depressive state and pushing you into another space where you got to challenge yourself, take yourself to a new spot. But then the added bonus is you're going to get a whole bunch of endorphins released when you walk out the door back to your car, that you're going to feel so much better. And if you can ingrain that psychologically day in, day out, or, however many times you train in the week, your body's going to start to recognize that these endorphins make me feel really good. So I'm going to keep doing it.
100%. There's the whole sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system response as well. Like if you're putting, I try and look at everything from a evolutionary perspective, but most people are anxious because there's no real threat in their life. And anxiety is manifesting what just perceived threat that's not actually there. You put 350 kilos on your back, that's fucking real threat. So your body's going to go through a proper sympathetic state to go, all right, I'm about to lift this weight. You better get ready, because if something goes wrong, you're dead. And then as soon as you rack it again, your body's like, fuck yeah. And that's that parasympathetic state where you're like, feel amazing, like you could fucking take on the world because you're now safe again. That's like for powerlifting, that must be massive. That must be a response you can actually feel.
It definitely is, and it can tip you over the edge. So it's especially when you're like in that final 4 weeks leading into a competition and you're just under heavy loads after heavy loads after heavy loads, it's really hard to access your parasympathetic or your sympathetic nervous system, trying to get that fight response. So one thing I'm really big on in cueing a lot of the lifters is breathing. Like the quickest way to access or get into your parasympathetic nervous system or get into your sympathetic nervous system is through your breath. Like we know that a short, sharp breath is going to heighten that and get you ready to fight. And we know that as soon as you re-rack that weight, the first thing you should definitely do is and just exhale, let your body start to come back down. Because unfortunately, you've got about 3 minutes before you have to do that fucking thing again. So learning how to control your breath, where to breathe and how to breathe in lifting becomes super imperative.
So what you're saying, sorry, you go, Jeff.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, what you're saying in a nutshell is the biggest men on the planet meditate.
100%. And I rant, probably is the best word, about meditation a lot. Like, I'm not one that's going to sit down on a yoga mat, hold your hand with my fucking hands like this and just breathe and shit like that. Like, meditation for me is all about mindfulness. And I get that from training. Like, my meditation is, going back to what we said before, it's like a church. I come in here, I have my intention set for the session. I focus in what I have to do. And then I have to be mindful about my breathing. That's fucking meditation. I don't have to sit on a fucking yoga mat. Go fuck yourself. Sorry, it really triggers me. It just triggers me.
I want to let you know that I'm also a qualified yogi, just in case.
No. That's cool. That's fine. I love yoga, but there's so many different ways to fucking practice mindfulness and meditation. Oh.
Mate, but if you think about it, you can directly affect the vagus nerve and those systems in your body. The one way to do it is through breathing, right? And if you're breathing through your sets, even just going to the gym and doing resistance stuff, like 10, 15 reps, you're still breathing, getting a breathing cycle in, out. Like you're fucking dead right, mate. Like it's meditation, going in and setting an intention before you go.
I think that too. Like I've had a couple of big panic attacks in the gym, purely based off, when I'm coming in for a heavy squat, I'll think about it all week, day and night, 24/7. I wake up, that's my first thought. I'm sitting at work, I'm thinking, fuck, I'm going to put 350 on my back tonight and fucking not die, you know what I mean? And I'll come in and I'll have a full-blown panic attack where it's a full-on flight, fright response. And at the end of it, I'm fucked because the adrenaline levels have surged. Same as you guys would have had like in Afghan and that, after a firefight. Once the adrenaline flushes out of your body, you're fucked.
Combat fatigue, mate, yeah.
So, yes, it does help with anxiety and stuff like that, but it also, like Brando was saying, it's a fine-edged sword once you're getting up into them topper echelons of weights, because so much can go wrong, and depending on how you approach that, sometimes it does tip you over the edge.
And that just comes from experience and flying too close to the sun. Like we fucking fly very close and we just teeter on that edge of getting burnt every single day. So understanding how to train, when to deload, and doing simple breath work, like straight after a big session to bring yourself back down. And as you said before, if we can get a client or a lifter, into a parasympathetic nervous system rhythm quicker, the better their recovery is going to be. So if we can activate that just through breathing and then a few other, life hacks, whatever, the better the outcome, the better the recovery. And the more we can try and fly that little bit closer to the sun.
Saying that too, I know my triggers and that as well. And I know how to deal with them. And I think that's the most important thing, is that if you are having anxiety or depression or whatever, is to get the help and the professional help, because they will help you identify your triggers, what the responses physiologically and psychologically are going to be. And with them tools, you can counteract everything that's going on with, i.e. breathing, removing yourself from the situation for 5 minutes till, the perceived threat's fucking gone or whatever. So, never be scared to speak up, I guess, about fucking anything that you're going through, because, I squat 375 and I fucking sometimes cry like a baby. Like, you know what I mean?
100%, mate. 100%.
Mate, that's fucking admirable. And you did, mate, if some of Australia's biggest, strongest dudes can come forward and have the introspection to go, if you need help, you fucking get it. I fucking do, mate. That's fucking admirable, dude. That's good to go. Because I wouldn't even know, mate, and I'm not going to tell you what I back squat because it's not a number that I want to. But I wouldn't. What the fuck does 370 kilos feel like on your body, in your bones, like in your fucking joints and your bones, and
You're a dickhead.
I don't know, man. To be honest, in that moment, I don't know. It's like playing footy in that, man. Like, you have a crowd of 100,000 people out there and you're playing footy, you don't know they're there.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar under a bar with a heavy weight. Like, you feel it feels heavy, but in saying that too, you've just spent probably the best part of 16 weeks building up to these weights, each week increasing. So your body's kind of built a tolerance to it, if that makes sense. But yeah, just, I don't know, man.
It's one of those things.
Good question, mate.
It'll be really heavy, but like him feeling 375 would be the exact same feeling for you hitting your 1 rep max. Like it's all relative, but empty bar. But as Kane touched on, like, you don't feel the weight. Like if you're in the zone, what they call it, like, I don't know if you guys know much about the flow state or have heard about the flow state, and Chick Semi-High's, research on it, and it's just like that euphoric feeling when everything just kind of zones out around you. You go quiet, everything goes quiet. You just focus in on what you have to do. That's the feeling under a bar, and that's what I think makes the sport so addictive, because research shows that the flow state is addictive, and we try to I guess get it as much as we possibly can. And fucking if you want to feel a flow state, get under a fucking heavy barbell and pray to God it comes back up.
For anyone listening who doesn't get into powerlifting, flow states where you're like 5-6 beers in at the pub and everything goes quiet and you get really, really good at pool. Like, you've been playing pool all night and you can't hit straight and the balls are fucking bouncing off the table, and you have that 5.5 beers and you're like, you can't miss. Everything's going in. And then 2 beers later, you're fucking retarded and you can't play pool anymore. So you've got to get it to the point. or you could just get into powerlifting. Probably the healthy option.
That is the best example. We need to notate that, mate. 38 minutes.
Yeah,
that's a zinger.
Scientifically, that is a flow state. It is a fucking flow state, and it's not a healthy one. But it's the same as anything. If you want, like, say if you go surfing and you're in a state where, like, or playing rugby, you're having the blinder, and then you push slightly too hard and you come out the other end and you just fucking shit at it again. Like, drinking, for me, like, I like to get in flow states in many other ways, but I know the spot. Like, it's right on 5.5 beers. Can't miss a ball playing pool. 100%.
I'll buy you a couple more if I ever play in them.
Yeah.
We're on.
What is that? What is the stuff that you sniff before you're pulling tin? And, like, what the fuck is it?
So that's just ammonia.
Smelling salts. Yeah. Same shit you smell when people are knocked out.
Yeah. So if you get, like, knocked out or something, they come out, they break that snap thing and put it on your nose. Like, that's just what we smell to, I guess, initiate that fight or flight response, or use another external cue to initiate that.
It has a bit of a physiological effect as well, where it opens up your capillaries and gets more blood and you can get more oxygen in, and unless it's real strong, then it just fucks you and takes your breath away and your eyes water and you can't see shit and you're fucked.
Yeah, there's stuff out there that it's just too strong and you're like, well, I'm going to miss this now. I'm going to miss this now. Fuck.
But yeah, it's ammonia nitrate, so is it nitrate?
Fuck.
No, fuck it. It's ammonia.
Just something that kept me in the gym, and so I started sniffing it. Sounds healthy.
Sounds like half the
Okay.
biggest in the fucking army.
Mate, going back real quick, like I think that's the bit that I find the most attractive about powerlifting. When you're saying like you get anxious and stuff leading into it, but to do a 1RM, you've had to build up for 16 weeks. Like you walk into a gym to be a bodybuilder. There's no real discipline. I mean, I know there is. If you want to be high level, there's discipline. But you go in and you lift weight. Next week, you try and lift more weight. You don't really put a lot of strategy to get proper heavy lifts in powerlifting. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't go in and just start racking up 1 rep maxes, do you? Like, there's a lot of discipline to it to slowly progressive overload.
So I like to use this as a bit of an example. I don't anymore, but I used to train at commercial gyms 1 day a week just because it was closer to home. So I trained at World Gym, and it was sort of, there'd be 6 months between sort of times when I'd go there, and I'd walk in 6 months later and it'd be the same guys lifting the same weights, looking exactly the same, posing, same fucking singlet on, and they had no progression. Whereas I'd go in and I'd be benching, 20 kilos more or something, which, good on them. They're still getting to the gym and they're still, getting the endorphins and doing what they want to. But certainly, like, right now, I'm squatting, like, between 150 and 200 to go back to the basics and work on some technique sort of stuff. And, we'll slowly build into hopefully a 400 kilo plus squat come March next year. So, I'm working sub 50% at the moment, to build up over the next 6 months to get to them top weights and condition my body to be able to handle the loads that hopefully we're going to be putting through it. So,
and Kate said it perfectly at the end. It's just all about conditioning your body. Once you get to a certain point, we can guarantee there's going to be something in your technique that may fail, something stability-wise, or because we've pushed this, there'll be a mobility restriction. And there's always going to be another point that we have to strip it right back, rebuild again, create another foundation, and then build on top of that. So, sometimes it sucks going from, or even injury. Like, let's look at injury. Like, I did my back horrendously bad in 2016. I went from pulling 280 from the floor to a fucking 8 kilo kettlebell in one hand, trying to just learn how to bend over properly. Like, it's a big kick in the nuts, but it has to happen. And if you want to push that top tier of the sport.
Yeah. It comes back to what you were saying before with recovery as well. Strength, you need the recovery because you're putting your body through such loads and you're tearing muscles and that to build them bigger, to get stronger. Without that recovery, you're going to end up like just fried. You're going to cook yourself. You're going to end up fucking injured. You're going to hate life. You're not going to want to go because you wake up and you can't even wipe your ass in the morning because you're so sore. So.
But most importantly, you're not going to perform.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, that's we step on the platform to perform at our best. And if you're not smart about it, if you're not educated, and there's so much resources out there now, not just having a coach that you can look for to get that knowledge, you won't perform. And at the end of the day, that's why we do the sport, is to progress and get better and perform.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Even saying you've got a 6-month goal, like that's huge. There's not a lot of young blokes that walk into a gym and go, I'm gonna do a reverse timeline this thing out so that in 6 months I'm gonna be hitting some good. They're like, I got 8 weeks. If I don't hit what I want in 8 weeks, I'm getting on the juice. And that is like the mentality for most dudes.
It 100% is, man, and we see it all the time. And like, the one thing about powerlifting is, like, we have our in season and then off season, but it's a sport that we do day in, day out, 52 weeks of a year. Like, we set these goals for Kane after his last comp in March, and then pretty much mapped out the next 12 months of what training looks like, or what recovery looks like, what nutrition looks like, and then go from there.
Yeah, mate, that is gold. Just to tie into what I was saying before, is steroids a big issue in powerlifting? Do you get tested?
It's not so much an issue. Like, it's in the sport. Like, drugs in sport's been around for fucking forever. There's the federation. There's different federations that will not necessarily allow it, but almost turn that blind eye. And
there's
then
tested and untested.
Yeah, there's tested and untested federations pretty much. And, you know, the tested, and that's why powerlifting will never be seen in the Olympics, because there's too much controversy, for lack of a better word, around the sport in that sense.
Yeah, right.
Any strength sport's going to have that dark side to it.
Oh, mate, it's human nature. You give me a competition, I'll show you how to cheat. Like that is human nature 101.
You know, they did that research study where they asked Olympians, like, you know, the naturalist of them all, like, if they could take something to win a gold medal, but they'd be dead in 5 years, would they take it? And they all said yes.
Oh,
like,
always.
And there's no difference in our sport, really. Like, and it also comes back down to the person. That's the other thing. Like, I am one of the most competitive motherfuckers on the planet. Like, I need to be the fucking best, not just at this sport, but, you know, whether that be coaching or in a relationship, whatever it is. I just need to be better. So if I can take something that's going to make me better and help with my recovery and help with my performance, fucking oath I'm going to take it.
Sorry, you go. I'll keep stepping on you, Shep. You go.
So the thing I've found in the sport is it's looked at very differently to your bro science in a commercial gym, where it's just get everything into your body and let's try and get as big as possible. Whereas a lot of people in powerlifting and strength sports look at it as medicine. So they'll identify a weakness physiologically in their body, or, you know, I'm lacking here, I'm lacking there. And they will supplement with a PED to bring that up to par so that they're not so far behind in other athletes.
I'll just jump in, and instead of phrasing it as medicine, rather look at it as an extra tool in your toolbox. Like, it's just something to add in here. It's like adding a supercharger onto a V8. We're just making it better, giving it more performance, giving it more output. So there's certain types of performance enhancing drugs for certain phases of training. Like, you know, if we need a bit more the size and volume, or we need more red blood cells to accompany and facilitate lactic threshold, you know, there's things that we can add in here and then take away here and then add that in there to, perform better, which is what we're trying to do.
Not that we're advocating use of drugs.
Oh, mate, honestly,
I think I advocate. I definitely, 100% advocate, especially in specific professions. Bro, I think that it became illegal because of baseball, didn't it? Wasn't it in America?
So in Australia, you know, performance-enhancing drugs, or specifically steroids, are classified as a Class 1 drug. So in the same category as things like, meth, heroin, and what's the other one?
Cocaine.
Probably cocaine as well. And that escalated really quickly. And a lot of it's attributed to the side effects that these drugs can have on yourself in terms of your mental psyche. So you can become more aggressive, you can become more depressed, and the actions of that are what causes it. Like, you know, we saw an increase in pub brawls and all this sort of shit. But one thing that people don't understand is that these drugs affect your mental state as much as it affects your body. Like, we have a physiological response, an emotional response, and a mental response. They will enhance all three of those things. So if you're emotionally and mentally already in a fucked place, you're going to go even deeper into that hole. Whereas if you're in a really good space, it's going to enhance that as well, and you're going to be Jesus.
That's the thing. Like, the way it's portrayed, if you look at, you know, if you think of your typical steroid user, most people think bikies or something like that, you know what I mean? Or people that have predispositions to violence and stuff anyway. So there's, you know, like Brando was saying, it's just going to enhance that predisposition, and that's where it sort of boils over, and that's when the media love to jump on board and fucking run with it, you know what I mean?
100%, mate. I agree with Max. There is testosterone's a natural thing in human bodies, and I mean the science coming out now showing how it can improve your mental state if you've got stuff like CTE or any kind of concussion or blast injury, because your body stops producing it properly, and then you get depressed and cut yourself off, and you need to supplement with testosterone. Like,
100%.
like if you're in a competitive sport, I get it. Like if you can't have one dude on it and the other dude not, it's not fair. Like it's a complex problem, but if everyone gets on it, then you're going to have these ginormous fucking superheroes lifting 5,000 kilos. And where do we draw the line? Like you're going to be going testosterone, stem cells, whatever comes out next year. The Russians will invent some shit that make you like 700 kilos heavier. Like you probably can't do it in sport, but as far as like the stigma around, if you do steroids, you're a bad dude, like that shit's got to go. And I agree. I think it comes from bikies. At the same time, man, like honestly, I did it a couple of times when I was younger, for the wrong reasons, because I was a young dude, wanted to get real jacked and look like a mad dog, probably just for chicks, to be honest. I did it just before. Fuck, I don't know if you should say this. Did it just before we went to Afghan, because I was like, all right, I'm going overseas. It's not a sport where it's everyone's got to be even. You want an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
So I got jacked.
That's one thing. Like, I have no army experience or anything. It's like that. Like, I would feel safer if our armed forces were on this shit. Like, I want a superhuman fucking protecting our borders and shit like that, going to war. I want to see fucking Captain America out there.
100%. But at the same time, I'm like, when I was younger, I was doing it for all the wrong. Like, I wanted to. I was using testosterone to get big. I'm like, you don't really want to be a big target when you're overseas on ops with the army. It's counterproductive. But you want to be able to lift heaps of shit, and that's a positive. But like, as a young dude, I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. Would I do it again? 100%. Like, going way smaller doses. Like testosterone replacement for mine is fucking groundbreaking, because it means dudes can get older, they can not be depressed, and their body doesn't fade away as quick, and that's all positive. Like, where's the negative in a 50-year-old dude taking a mil of testosterone a fortnight or a week or whatever it's going to be?
100%, man. Like, there are so many therapeutic benefits to these stuff as well. Like, a lot of the stuff that you'll see in the realm of strength sports, they were all designed for a medical reason. Like, Anadrol is a typical or more commonly used drug in our sport. It's used to treat cancer patients after chemo to put weight back on. Like, they all have a medical. We've just gone, oh shit, we can use them to get really fucking jacked and strong as well and increase performance. Like, sick, win-win.
And governments are like, fuck, we don't want superhuman fucking civilians. They'll fucking overthrow the government.
And this is the problem. This is the army model. And so the first one is drug education needs to happen proper at school. Instead of learning what fucking the Romans did 1,000 years, whatever, I don't know. Let's get rid of some shit in school. Maybe some sex studies, I don't know, and learn algebra and learn some actual drug education, because it is in society. Let's teach people dosing and setting an intention for doing anything. So that's alcohol, that's doing like recreational drugs, teaching people proper drug education and how to use things and setting for everything, inclusive of even some of the stuff they're doing now, where we talk about psilocybin is also a class 1 drug in Australia, and they're using that. They're trying to relax that to treat PTSD, depression, and anxiety in veterans and end of life people who are terminally ill, and they're like, hey, they do psilocybin counseling in America at Johns Hopkins University. The stuff is groundbreaking, but until you remove that classification, and the reason is because everyone's fucking stupid. It's like in the army, it's group punishment. And they're like, no, you can't be trusted. You can't be trusted. So yeah, none of you are doing it, mate.
That guy's gonna fuck up. You're all banned.
I agree with that. It's like, education needs to be the cornerstone of the stuff. Like, we work with a bloke from the States, Broderick Chavez, who's one of the most fucking smartest people you'll ever meet in your life. He's got a PhD. He's got a bachelor in pharmacology, biology, chemistry, and some other ology that I can't remember off the top of my head. And then he backs up with a PhD in sports performance. Like, this guy is trying to do the right thing and educate people on how to take these drugs and how to elicit them in the correct doses for the right reasons. Like, and then this needs to be trickled down into, I believe, our schools. Like, I went to an all-boys school. Like, we got shown a video about steroids and the negative effects of them. Like, that doesn't do anything for me. I'm fucking 16, 17, think I'm the fucking invincible. Like, I need to know what these drugs do. I need to understand these drugs to then make an informed decision. And the media and everyone just like, yeah, let's just hammer this shit so it's bad. And this group mentality of like, if one person fucks up, everyone can't use it. And I'm not saying it should be, used widely and whatever, but I just think there needs to be education. There needs to be understanding of these drugs, because once you can understand something, you then can make an informed decision about whether it's right for you or not.
100%.
Glad you bring up the TRT, mate, because it's, like you said, it's groundbreaking. Like, even 10 years ago, mate, they didn't know about this shit. Well, they probably did, but it was probably suppressed because, they didn't want any fucker to get on it. But, people getting on TRT and that now, and the spike in mental wellness around that is huge. Like, I can't wait for another 10 years, mate, when, this shit probably will be legal and that. And, some of the boys we know are getting it through doctors and that. Like, it's fucking groundbreaking.
Mate, everything you boys just said, like the education and the boys getting it through the doctor, that it has to be the way forward. Because if you get like a dude, and let's just stick to like veterans for a second, like if you get a dude who gets out of the military, anxious, depressed, doesn't really have any education as to why or what's going on, gets on the gear, most of that shit's going to go away because they're going to feel like their anxiety will drop for a period, right? Because they get on it and they don't regulate dose because they've probably Googled it or asked the fucking big juice head in the gym how much they should take. And like within a matter of a week and a half, 2 weeks, no anxiety, no depression, feeling amazing. So like, fuck yeah, I'll just keep jamming like 10 mils a week in my ass. That's a terrible idea, because as soon as you come off without like any kind of cycling or any kind of education at all, you are going like fast track downhill. And that's when you're going to be in a pit of anxiety that you have no way of getting out of.
And I think it comes back down to, like, if we look at, so let's say I go to the doctor and I say, look, I'm feeling real depressed. I'm feeling down. I don't have any sex drive. They send me for a blood test. Now, that's the first thing they'll ever always do. You get that blood report back. Now, this is the thing that annoys me. I'm not a doctor, so please don't think I am. I'm not giving medical advice. But the range for testosterone for a male, a healthy range, is 0 to 30. That's a fucking huge range. I could be at 11 and feel like absolute shit, yet I won't get fucking
healthy, mate, is 0 testosterone to a lot of testosterone. Good. That's nice and broad.
I have one testosterone. No, you're good, mate. You're good.
And like, this person's walking around depressed because they got low test, but they can't do anything about it. Like, the system in itself is flawed. And so I urge people to then go see an endocrinologist or someone that works specifically within hormones, even a naturopath, because a naturopath will work within an optimal range. There's a difference between being healthy and then being optimal. And this is where people should be walking around. We should be feeling good.
I went for a blood test the other day for this exact reason, right? Because when Mex started going balls deep into gut bacteria and stuff, I'm like, I'm getting everything checked. I want to check vitamins, hormones, all that kind of stuff. And my results came out, and it was so broad. Like, this is from a GP, and my GP was like, "Oh, everything looks normal." I'm like, "I don't want to be normal. Give me high level optimization. That's where I'm aiming at." And she's like, "Oh, no. I'll tell you if you've got a deficiency." I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, as you said, I've got to go to a naturopath who everyone calls a bloody pseudoscientist to get some actual information.
100%. And like, there's more and more people doing really good stuff within the industry as a whole to bridge that gap. And like, this is where we should be, like, sitting. But like, fuck me, you train as a male, you jack off, you lose zinc every time you jack off. And if you're Kane, you're jacking off at least 5 times a day. You've lost half your zinc already.
They're rookie numbers, mate. You got to get them numbers up.
But like, it just comes back to like education.
So you're saying I've got a zinc deficiency?
Mate, most males would have a zinc deficiency without even fucking knowing. It's why I literally started supplementing with it.
I probably should.
This is the whole coronavirus conspiracy. Trump came out at the start. He said, "You've all got a zinc deficiency. Zinc will fix it."
Mate, fucking Trump.
Zinc and bleach, was it?
No, who knows, mate? He started with zinc at some stage. Trump.
This is how fucked the doctors are, though. So I got my test done first time probably, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years ago. Come back and the doctor, I've seen a different doctor when the results come back, and she, a chick who, you know, whatever, she's a doctor, yeah. It's like, no, your tests are fucking fine, mate. Your test levels are fucking good to go. So I bring the results in to Brando and a couple of lads in the gym, and they fucking pissed themselves and were like, does your dick even work, cunt? They were that low. And, you know, the doc, no, you're normal, mate. You're in a good range. Yeah, you know.
And it's just, again, that education, and like it's coming back to, well, what do we need to do to educate people more on this living optimally? And, you know, like in the pursuit of a high level sport, healthiness goes out the window. I don't want to be healthy. Like, I'm not going to be healthy. Like the 2 weeks out leading into a comp, I am the most unhealthy I will ever be. I may look jacked, shredded, and fucking feeling strong, but I'm fucking really tired. I don't want to talk to a cunt. I don't feel like eating, and I feel like genuinely shit because my central nervous system is fried. The pursuit of high-level performance is never healthy. So if you're starting at a fucking less than optimal range, good fucking luck.
Yeah, mate. I used to have a food business, and a lot of our customers were CrossFitters, and at the time, like we were big. This is early when paleo's just kicking off, and we were kind of big advocates of paleo for health and longevity. And people would come in and ask for advice on what they should be eating pre-comp, and I'm like, mate, that's one, that's really individual. Like, you got to get a diet that fits your body, but two, healthy food isn't always what you want to be eating before a comp. Because I was eating I operate best on a keto diet with no carbs at all, but I don't compete. Like my goal with my diet and lifestyle and training, like I lift super light weights. My primary goal right now is health and longevity. Am I ever going to be really good at high level sports at the way I'm training and eating? Fuck no. Like it's completely different.
100%. And like I know, you know, we can look at nutrition and food as, if you want to optimize your brain function and your ability to be productive, yeah, keto diet all the fucking way. If you want to perform in the gym and perform out on the paddock or whatever it is, you're going to have a carb dump. But prepare yourself, because you're going to be a little bit foggy. I had to squat yesterday, and I had 700 grams of carbs just before I squatted, like across the day before I squatted. I felt like absolute dog shit. Was I strong? Yes, I was. I got my set done. But like, that's the trade-off people got to make when you're looking at this sort of performance scale. It's like, we have this is the way to eat over here, but I need to perform over here. Well, just choose it, and then you can go back to it afterwards.
I just eat what I want.
Turns out I've just got a high-performing optimal diet all the time. It's just lots of carbs and yeah.
Oh, right. Like if you want to hear some stories, like so the biggest comp on the planet is called Big Dogs, and it's held in Australia in Melbourne. And the guy who won the first two Big Dogs, Andrei Milanichev, will go down in history as the GOAT, as one of the GOATs of the sport, so one of the greatest of all times. That comp, he broke the squat record and squatted 485 kilos. This bloke, before the comp, was at Macca's chowing down on 3 Big Macs, 3 large chips.
My boy.
And then right before the comp, he's throwing his guts up because he is that toxic right now from PED use, from stress, from nutrition, like all this stuff. He's so acidic. He's yakking in a fucking bucket before he has to go compete. But then he goes and squats 485 like it was nothing.
Yeah, man. And that exact diet, like pizzas and burgers and that, like that's what Phelps used to eat while he's at the Olympics before he goes and swims and flogs everyone.
You just need the calories.
Yeah, when you're competing, all the CrossFitters, but all the CrossFitters eat fucking garbage. Like pizzas is pretty much the staple before, like in competition weekends. But the problem is the education piece, because all the young kids on the outside looking in going, that's the fittest dude on the planet, and he's eating pizzas. If I eat pizzas, I'll be like that.
I don't see 12 months leading up to it where it is eating rice and chicken and
If you look at bodybuilding, like everyone sees is just, it's a great example. They just see this chiseled physique on stage. They don't see all the fucking chicken and rice and whatever bullshit they eat leading into a contest prep. But then right before they go on stage, they're chowing down on pizza usually. They're spiking their glycogen so their muscle becomes really full on stage. Nobody sees that. It's just, again, it comes down to educating yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
I just don't know. I'm definitely going to have to stay on the carb diet, and if I fail, I'm gonna have to coin myself as a powerlifter and start coming to get some advice because
right.
I'll tell you what, mate.
It's the best. That's how Kane gets around being fat.
Yeah. I'm always 1 week out from a comp, mate.
Can you claim it if your figures probably don't reach triple digits and you can bench more than you can squat? Can you say you're a powerlifter?
Yeah, just claim that you're a powerlifter and got an injury.
Yeah. Boom, perfect, spot on. Because I have no. We talk about that posterior chain and the anterior chain. I never engage my ass on a squat. My ass is a back extension.
Yeah.
I have 0 hamstrings. My thoracic spine is fucking twisted up because I never did any back stuff, mate. Like I'm a twisted up. I don't know how to recruit. I don't even know how to engage it. Doing squats, like engage your glutes. I'm like, I don't know what they are.
You're what we call a dream client. No, I'm just kidding. In that sort of sense, we look at, okay, cool. You're a blank canvas, which is always great. You're easier to teach new things to. But the first thing we got to kind of address is the idea that our glutes don't work in a squat. Like that's the thing I hear all the fucking time. And I'm like, no, they do. Like your glutes work. Like if we were all to stand up right now, we could stand up because our glutes are stabilizing the hips and preventing us from falling over. Like if our glutes didn't work, we would just fall over when we stand. It's just the fact that the glutes don't know how to work as their function in a squat to stabilize the pelvis in the deep hole. So if we look at squat, benching, and deadlifting as a system, there's a certain sequence in which things have to fire in. And one of those things is the glutes. There's a specific order when they need to engage to stabilize the hips. So it's just about teaching correct technique, correct loading plans, and engaging them from isolation first into the compound movements. It's pretty simple. Like it's not hard.
No, man. I started doing. I took everything back. I started watching some stuff about when they spoke about resistance and to get the best tear out of your muscle for hypertrophy is that 50 second range plus to start actually like tearing muscles and getting some growth out. And as opposed to like me going to the gym and doing sets of 8. Like so I was the dude in the gym that Kane fucking hates. Same singlet, same weights, same week. And I was like, yeah, I'm.
What do you mean? I am.
and then I just took it all back, man. Like probably the last 12 weeks took it right back, doing 15s. Everything was lightweight and working on contracting the muscle every set. And I'm getting sore in places I didn't know I had muscles, dude. Especially I had a thoracic back injury, and I was like, if you look at my back, it's shoulder blades. There's no, how guys got this big traps and the straps up. I don't have. It's not there, mate. And then I started just trying to think about how you recruit them, how you engage them. I got sore in places I didn't even know I did, mate. By backing it off and actually listening to people, mate.
Yeah, it's 100%. Like it just comes back from that. Just back it off. Be a student again. Be a learner. Forever learn. And okay, cool. Well, if this person has a really good back and knows how to engage that, what are they doing that I'm not? How can I do that? And I think just by watching and learning, as you said, like you can learn so much.
100%, bro. I train
150 now, and going through cues in my head and trying to get the muscle activation that I'm meant to, and it's sub 50% of what I squat at my max. But you need to dial it back. And while 150 for a lot of people is fucking still a big weight, it's all relative. So,
but if we look at Kane's quite a unique example. When I first started coaching him, he had this knee injury that was never rehabbed properly. So he's got super underdeveloped quads, but his body has naturally compensated. Like it's just internally gone, fuck, I need to put mass on my hamstrings. I need to put mass on my adductors so that the inner thigh muscle to support the knee. Like he didn't know he was doing that. His body just compensated that way. So we've had to work a lot around different cues and executing different cues and different engagement drills to get the right activation. 3 years on, he actually has a pair of quads on him now. Like it's
baby.
They're small, but they're growing. And that's
Allegedly.
How are your knees at the moment, Shep?
Fucked. I'm a little bit scared to go to the doctor. There is a bit of stuff floating around in there that I can sort of move around and jigsaw back into place. But
I mean, more since you started developing like the actual muscles that you need for stability, is it getting better?
It is. And I was thinking about it today. So I slipped 2 discs back when we were in the army. And back then I would never have thought that I'd even be able to squat again. But what powerlifting's enabled me to do is build the, posterior chains and all the little stabilization muscles that, a lot of people forget about. And the same with my knee. Like I used to be walking and my knee would just cave and I'd literally be in the shopping centre and I'd just fucking fall over. Just because my knee was that fucked. But now with all the muscles around it and that, doesn't happen anymore. Same with my back. I've got a constant numbness down my left leg because the spine's pressing on the sciatic. But, I don't really get back pain anymore because I've worked on the weaknesses that played into hurting my back.
And that's but that's the common physio. Like if we look at the common physio mentality, it's treat the pain, treat the symptoms, get them out. There's no progression, regression. Like I think, Adrian, you said before, you went to a physio and they're like, cool, all you're doing for the next 8 weeks is fucking lifting air, single leg RDLs. And like, yeah, that's all well and good for someone like yourself who's probably not pushing that top end performance. But I work a lot with athletes coming back from like surgeries, injuries, and like rehabbing sort of stuff. And like their goal is to perform again. So giving Kane a single leg RDL with just air, it's not going to do shit. Maybe in like the first couple of weeks where he's starting to relearn movement patterns again after an injury or a surgery, but he puts 375 on the back. What the fuck is a single leg air squat going to do for him? Like he needs external. So it's about applying and understanding engagement biomechanics and putting them together, bridging the gap. And I still need him to train. He still needs to load up his back. He still needs to do all these things. And I think that's the missing link with physios. And I don't mean to attack all physios. Like I think there are some good physios out there doing good work, but they miss the link that you need to also strengthen everything around it. It's all well and good to get all these stabilizers working, but if there's no movement, there's no function, there's no strength being applied to that joint or in Kane's case, his hip and knee, like he's not going to get better. His lower back's going to still hurt in 10 years' time. But it's because he's trained muscles around it to support it and he's trained those stabilizers at the same time that he's able to walk around pain-free in his back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. And like, I'll go in a bat for my physio real quick, just in short. Like, I went in there. I don't know what you boys are like, but I'm kind of lucky. Like, DBA pays for physio until like back and knees is kind of a common thing that gets fucked up. And I wanted to go in and get into training again and do something. And I think the common misconception that a lot of the boys have got, like the 80s model of workers' comp, and it's the same as DVA. Like if DVA is paying for something and you get caught doing squats, but you told them that your knees are fucked, like everyone gets worried going, oh, are they going to think I'm dodgy? And my physio was like, mate, like you are doing 8 weeks. Oh, she didn't say 8. She said we're doing X amount of time of no weight, because I went in there with no back, no glutes, no hammies. And she's like, you've just got to teach them to fire. Once we teach them to fire, you're doing fucking heavy squats. I'm like, is that how does that play out? If like I come here getting free physio through DVA, and then for my knees, because I went in there, my ITBs were just fucked, all inflamed, because that was pretty much, like I said before, bones and ligaments were doing all the lifting for me. There was no muscle firing. But then after she taught me like muscle memory and taught me how to activate them, she's like, start going heavy. not straight like real quick, but progressive overload back into it. And now like I still get days where it hurts, but it's fucking way better. And that's from strength training. It's not from sitting down doing nothing and resting.
Yeah, and you can't. And like, we hear it all the time. Squats are bad for your knees. It's like, do you know what's actually bad for your knees? Being fat and overweight. It's like we need this integration of like, and I agree with your physio and what she said, but I challenge her into the point of, cool, let's teach them how to activate it in isolation and get this engagement. But then let's go put them in a safer, more regressed deadlift, like an RDL, and get them to use it straight away. Because I need you, now I'm talking specifically athletic performance, but I need you to perform, not right now, but I need you to perform in the next 6 months. And we don't have time to waste.
Yeah, agreed. I mean,
strengths
in my physio's defense, she probably told me that shit and I wasn't listening, but...
It's all right. You just claim Shepherd. That's what he does. Just I tell him everything.
In one ear, out the other, do what the fuck I want.
So what's coming up next for how did COVID affect like your gym, bro, and people rocking up, and what are the big comps coming up, and then how do we get a sticker on bloody Kane, big bloody Switch 8 sticker on bloody dude?
Yeah, I'm waiting on you to get bigger shirts, you kids.
What size do you need? What size do you need?
5XL.
Bed sheet. I'll get you one.
just move.
Look, the Rona definitely like fucking took a hit on the gym, mainly the community aspect. Like I was more concerned, like a lot of people come here, as you said before, to get that sense of community, that sense of belonging and all that sort of stuff. So I was more worried about, I guess, the mental side effect of that. Other than that, man, like as soon as the gyms reopened, everybody came back. We've had an increase in memberships to the small boutique gyms like this. And I think that's because people are just searching for more and more sense of community now that, coming out of isolation, being all alone, they want to be part of something more. So that's been really good. Myself personally with business, like I did a little bit more online stuff. I took the opportunity to rest. Like I've been self-employed for fucking nearly 10 years. So like I spent some time with my missus, which was really cool, read a heap, upskilled the best I could with a lot of the online courses that was coming out. And then just try to stay in touch with my clients, do some online coaching, and that's about it. And once we came back, man, like it's been guns blazing, and we're lucky up here in Queensland to kind of get a control of the coronavirus pretty quick, and we've got a whole bunch of comps leading up. The next 6 months, talking specifically about Sheps, a bit more, building that foundation over the next 3 months, and then leading into another big comp next year. Granted, it all goes ahead with this bullshit, but he's definitely set to push that upper limit and be on that world stage where he belongs. Like I have no doubt you'll see him at that comp I spoke about before, big dogs, in the years to come.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's the only compliment you'll ever get from me. So
You just recorded that, right?
no, they're going to edit that out for me. They can't. People can't know we're actually that out. Yeah.
So who the fuck come up with big dogs, mate? Like, we need a name, Big Dog.
Yeah,
was
so
that like?
There's a bloke down in Melbourne. So he's, I guess, the reason powerlifting is so big in Australia, and Australia's kind of seen as like the focal point of some of the biggest names in the history of the sport. He's just this great dude that just loves the sport and just wonders like, I want to know who's the fucking strongest man on the planet is. And he just came up with this slogan after one person was like, "Big dog's got to eat," and he's like, "That's what we're fucking calling it." So it makes sense too. Like the lightest bloke to compete in the first competition, well, he was 143 kilos. Like, it's fucked.
But then you got a bloke who competed last year.
Yeah, so Yuri Belkin's probably pound for pound the best powerlifter in the world. Like he was 110 kilos going up against blokes, who had 80 kilos on him, and he came third. So just a freak of a human being.
Deadlifts like 430, squats over 400.
Squatted 455, bench
like
220,
230 or something.
pulled 415.
Russian.
I don't even.
So he's on the
Sucks.
Definitely on the state-funded subs there.
Why not, mate? Why not?
Oh, he just wants to win everything.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I'm putting in an order for 5XL soon.
Thanks,
I won't say tonight because it might be. I've got to figure it. No, I'm probably not. I'm probably gonna have another beer and not do any work this Arvo. But yeah, we'll get some in for you, mate. We'll get some in. Is there other boys up there that are gonna need them, or should I just custom order you a handful of them?
Yeah, bro. I'll flick you an email. Like, we'll definitely get on hold, and every comp we chuck on the logos of the guys that support us. So we'll chuck that Swiss 8 logo up on the shirts and get them out there and let everyone see it.
I know Johnny Bebo too, who you guys have been in talks with. They're still running their Capo States, and all the proceeds from the door, I believe, are still going to you guys as well.
Fuck,
it should be cool. That's going ahead when October. So,
what do you reckon about getting a intro to powerlifting program for the app? Because I reckon from what you boys have said today, there's going to be a lot of young boys and girls that are keen to get in. Well, not even young. Like if you can hit your PRs when you're still in your late 30s, I might get into it as well. But there'll be a lot of people interested in getting into powerlifting and not knowing where to start. I don't know what you've seen so far, but everything we try and do is just give them basic intro, get people excited, and then go to see the boys if you want to get serious about it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, that's something we can definitely do. And like, we've got plenty of training videos that we can attach so people are doing things right and know how to do things from the get-go.
Yeah, nice. Sounds good.
Mate, you boys are fucking legends, man. And like the army moved to AOCP, which was a bastardized version of the big three lifts that done poorly, uncoached, with people that don't know what they're talking about. And it honestly, mate, it's a fucking dog's breakfast. It's a dog's breakfast, dude.
I spend a bit of time, in like getting to speak at certain events about, lifting. So I can remove myself from a lot of the social media bullshit, because I'm just like, you saw me rant today. I'll just throw my phone at someone and be like, fuck this shit.
Yeah. So, but I think dudes will really get into it, man. And look, and having you guys on, I appreciate you taking the time out. Champ, I know, mate.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much for the invite. It's been sick.
I'm gonna have to get you on when he's got some comps coming up, and you got some stuff going on, bro. We'll get you on, and we can diffuse some myths in the world and see how we go, eh?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks so much, guys.
Cheers, guys.